following that terrorist attack that we all condemned. Pakistan had consistently offered for an impartial international investigation into the incident, knowing full well that our hands were clean and demonstrating our commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms within Pakistan and within the region. Unfortunately, our calls for sanity were ignored. India rebuffed Pakistan's very sensible and legitimate offers for a peaceful solution. And we saw how on the 9th of the 6th and the morning of the 7th, India launched their illegal attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure in Pakistan, resulting in the martyrdom of men, women, and children, the destruction of mosques, and even damage to our dam. Pakistan demonstrated incredible restraint. We acted purely in self-defense when our brave armed forces, and particularly our Air Force, shot down 5 Indian aircraft on the night of that initial assault. But despite our restraint, India continued with its aggression and has continued for the subsequent 3 days. They launched 80 drone attacks within Pakistan that were bravely and valiantly shot down, but that too resulted in the loss of life, of civilian life. And then we saw how last night, in a departure from everything that they had been stating, they demonstrated once again that India says one thing and does another. They said that they were conducting a limited strike against terrorist infrastructure. They've been unable to name a single terrorist that was killed in their attack. The next day when they were, I wonder which terrorists they were targeting in Karachi and in Lahore and other major cities across the country. And ultimately they did attack military installations along with our civilian cities using missiles. So their aggression has been on display. And Pakistan, in line with international law, after demonstrating 3 days of patience, has finally responded proportionately, responded rationally, and within the confines of international law under Article 51 of the UN Charter. We are exercising our right to self-defense. Pakistan has a right to defend ourselves. We've always prioritized peace, but not at the expense of our survival, not at the expense of our sovereignty, and certainly not at the expense of our dignity.
Absolutely, and Pakistan has been making this stance very, very clear to the international audience as well. And while we welcome the calls for de-escalation, are you satisfied with the response of our international partners to the situation?
As far as the international community is concerned, I think that they have demonstrated from the outset that while everyone, including Pakistan, has expressed condemnation and condolences as far as the terrorist attack is concerned, the desire for us to see those who were really involved in this attack brought to justice, the international community has demonstrated great foresight. This time, unlike times in the past, they haven't gone along with every lie, with every fiction that was brought forward by the Indian side. In occupied Kashmir. How did he get into Kashmir? Where did he go after conducting this attack? If he was in a terrorist hideout in Pakistan, there must be some evidence of him coming and going. Surely it would have been more efficient had they shared this evidence with us. If their terrorist attack, if they truly were just targeting a terrorist attack, then they'd know from these supposed so-called precision strikes against terrorist infrastructure. They'd know exactly the names of the terrorists that they killed, which attacks they were involved in. But to this day, India cannot share these truths with the world. And that is why ultimately Pakistan will win. They may be bigger, they may have more resources, but we have truth, facts, history on our side. Their war is based on a lie. Their war is based on division. Their war is based on hate. Our stance is based on truth, it's based on reality. Our people are united not because of fear, not because of division, not because of hate, but in the name of our martyrs and to protect the dignity and sovereignty of our land. We have demonstrated that India may be larger than us, but our Air Force has demonstrated that they, while less in number, are far more efficient in the skies, and our armed forces will demonstrate that while they may be larger in number, as the saying goes, the larger they are, the greater they fall.
Right, agreed. But my question remains, who is going to hold India accountable?
As far as holding India accountable, that has been Pakistan's stance between not only at the United Nations, but in front of the international community. It is for the international community in these very international institutions to hold, whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan, or any other country, to account. That is why we set up these institutions after the world wars, to ensure that we had peace in our time, that our disputes were resolved through the course of international law and at the forum of these international institutions. But it is India, because their case is weak, because their case is unjust, because it is not based in international law, because they have no hope of succeeding at international forums, have time and time again, whether it's the question of Kashmir and their right of the people of Kashmir to self-determination through a plebiscite, and India's obligations to international law through the UN Security Council and its resolutions. India has refused to abide by them. Whether it's the 2019 actions of unilaterally changing the status of this internationally recognized disputed territory and continuing with their repression and suppression of the people of Kashmir, or it's their latest response to unilaterally and illegally depart from the Indus Water Treaty, which is the gold standard of diplomacy between any two countries. So as far as holding India accountable, all of these forums are designed to hold India accountable, and they must hold India accountable. If they can't hold India accountable today, then tomorrow they won't be able to stop the next country. We are seeing internationally that international law is being stretched, international institutions are being challenged. Correct. But I think that this is all the more reason for Pakistan and all those in the international community who believe in international law, who believe in a community of nations, to stand our ground, to not be bullied, to not cower in the face of these so-called, not only to call out to the aggressor, but to ensure that sanity prevails in Delhi, that they cease their hostilities, their aggressions, force them to accept Pakistan's demand of an impartial international inquiry into not only this, but any other future terrorist attack, to ensure that we don't continue this perpetual cycle of violence, and at the same time to also ensure that India, when it comes to the table, not in the shadow of bombs or missiles or drones, but in an atmosphere of peace, and has a genuine dialogue, and only through dialogue and diplomacy can India and Pakistan ultimately address this and any and all issues that are pending between us.
At the heart of the matter, of course, is the issue of the occupied valley. Will that also be able to be addressed at the international platforms that we're suggesting?
As far as the issue of the unfulfilled promises to the people of Kashmir made by the United Nations, the international community, but also by India and Pakistan, while Pakistan believes in peace, believes in dialogue, and diplomacy is the only way and the only pathway forward, if India seeks to ignore the question of Kashmir, then I believe
चेयरमैन पीपल्स पार्टी बिलावल भुट्टो जरदारी पीटीवी वर्ल्ड से गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे। उनका कहना था कि भारत को मुंह तोड़ जवाब देने पर पाक फौज को सलाम पेश करता हूं। वाज़े कहा था, जब हम जवाब देंगे तो दुनिया देखेगी। पाकिस्तान ने राफेल तैयारा गिराकर तारीख रकम की। पाकिस्तान दहशतगर्दी के खिलाफ भरपूर किरदार अदा कर रहा है। उम्मीद है पाकिस्तान और भारत के दरमियान बातचीत मुस्बत अंदाज में चले, दोनों मुमालिक में अमन होगा तो दोनों तरफ के आवाम की खुशहाली होगी। पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स ने तारीख रकम की और भारत के 5 जहाज गिराए हैं। पाक फजाया ने वो जहाज भी गिराए जो आज तक किसी ने नहीं गिराए। भारत के 100 से ज्यादा ड्रोन हमले नाकाम बनाए और मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया।
चेयरमैन पीपल्स पार्टी बिलावल भुट्टो जरदारी ने सरकारी टीवी से खुसूसी गुफ्तगू की है और उन्होंने ये कहा है कि भारत को मुंह तोड़ जवाब देने पर हम पाक फौज को खिराज तहसीन पेश करते हैं।